Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We've been born out of conquering a world. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful and we're beautiful and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. But you must stop bowing to those who want to make you a victim. You must become the victor. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, then you are an enemy of the New World Order and Satanism. They want us shut down because we have the Spirit. I'm jacked into the source. I know the secret, and I want to see you empowered. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about Mia Khalifa making outright disparaging comments about people who are religious. Now, some of you, some decent among you, may go, who is Mia Khalifa? Well, Mia Khalifa was somebody that had a career in filming themselves in, let's just say, precarious situations. Let me put it this way. Imagine Mia Khalifa orders a pizza and the pizza arrives, but Mia Khalifa doesn't have the money to pay for the pizza. And the only thing that she happens to have is her body. So for, a $25 pizza, she's willing to, do whatever it takes. Basically, she is somebody that sold herself in compromising positions in different scenarios on film, and there were companies that made money off of those films and distributed it to people on the internet. So it's basically like, think about this for the younger generation. It's like pre-OnlyFans. Crazy, right? Before OnlyFans, there were OnlyFans companies that would record you doing it and do all the work for you, and then you'd get paid for it, basically. That's what Mia Khalifa did. That was her job. She would take in a bunch of penises for a living. That is the height of her of her achievements and accolades during that period of time. Well, she got out of that industry, and she is trying to basically put as much distance between that life and her current life as possible. And somehow, someway, thinking that the internet is going to forget. So when she's asked on the street, what is your profession? Oh, I'm a jewelry maker. I'm a fashion designer. as if the internet isn't forever. Well, here's what this person came out with, riveting insight. Becoming hyper-religious in adulthood is a sign of low intelligence, not enlightenment. In fact, I would argue the opposite, personally. I think that people that abandon God and abandon faith in favor of making themselves God, glorifying and worshiping themselves, living for their own personal pleasure, I think that is a sign of low intelligence, and I think that is a sign of extreme and profound narcissism. The reality is that God gives us a perspective through the Bible that we are not the center of the universe, that there is a way to live your life, and we're going to fall short of that. Don't make any mistakes. I'm not saying that to be religious is to be perfect. That's far from the case. Anyone who's familiar with the faith knows that that's not what it's about. But there are commandments, there are guidelines, there are texts and words in the Bible that are the blueprint, the guidebook, the ultimate strategy guide for the game of life on how to live a better, more moral, and more fulfilled life, which was true back then, and it's still true today. Crazy about that, huh? Oh, the Bible's such an old book. Everything that you read in the Bible that talks about living a better life was true then, and it's true today. But you've got a bunch of people living in modernity that think that they've found enlightenment. The truth is that the Bible gives you perspective, that you are not the be-all and end-all, that you don't know everything. And the more that we see with discoveries of the world, with the way things have been, we realize very quickly that there is so much that we don't know. There is so much that we don't know. We're just now finding that there were a series of interconnected tunnels under the pyramids that are apparently so vast, I don't even know how we missed them. It's like, there is so much we don't know about the ocean. There's so much we don't know about space. There is a lot that we don't know. And we have people in America and in Europe and in Canada that think that they know everything. That their pleasure and their gratification is basically the secret to the universe. So they consider people like me and people who are also of faith to be less intelligent. I would argue the opposite. People like Mia Khalifa, and people like Bill Maher, and people like Stephen Colbert, and Jon Stewart, and John Oliver, and Whoopi Goldberg, and you go down the list of these people. These people have a self-worshipping personality, delusions of grandeur, and they don't have the requisite religious capacity, the father figure, the patriarchal structure in their life to be able to explain to them that you are not the center of the universe. So that they think they are, and they worship themselves, and they get very upset when people point out the fact that they're not. So here we have another post. There's nothing I find more beautiful than religion and people who have the discipline to live their life by it ethically and responsibly. But these rising voices of F-boys turn pastors and club rats turn women of God selling a far-right image, y'all, they're degenerates with 501c3s. Come on. So here's the thing. There's an element of truth to what she's saying in this post. There's an element of truth to it. But the reality is that there is grace in faith. There's forgiveness. There's understanding. Now, to be fair to this statement, to not take it out of context, because this is wild. These two statements are wildly different. Becoming hyper-religious in adulthood is a sign of low intelligence, not enlightenment. That is a statement that was tweeted in its entirety right there. And I think that there is something profoundly ignorant about that statement. There is something just so sad and deeply devoid of any sort of meaning in that. The next statement is, there's nothing I find more beautiful than religion and people who have the discipline to live their life by it ethically and responsibly, and then goes into talking about some of these pastors and club rats. But those people can be saved. Jesus Christ can do all things. Those people, if they find redemption, if they find true salvation, can be saved. And you have some of these club rat women turn into God, selling a far-right image. I agree with her. There are people like Nala Ray, and there are people on the more promiscuous side of the left-wing spectrum who do eventually try to rehabilitate their image. And I think that people today are far more aware of this phenomenon, and they're rejecting it. Now, what does that mean? Well, I hate to tell this to you, But if you've been a Christian for 20, 30 years, and some former porn star comes before you and says, well, this is the right way to do things, and does videos lecturing about what true Christianity is, I would say that that person should be shunned, shamed, and humiliated out of whatever space she's trying to be in. There should be people there to be like, sit down and shut up. You have nothing to say. And the reason for that is because you're newly converted. You have so much to learn, and we welcome people that are trying to rehabilitate their lives. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we want all people to come to Christ. But you come to him the right way, which is not trying to sell merch, trying to put your brand out there. We're going to get rich off of this. No, that is entirely the wrong way. In the past, people would give up everything and go into seclusion to learn and reform. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to that extreme, but the fact is that you shouldn't be showing anyone anything. If you have true repentance, you turn off the cameras, you turn off everything, and you go and you live a decent life. That's what happens if you are truly repentant. You've been somebody that has done an outrageous amount of harm to young men and other people through your business and what you've done. And when it comes time to repent, now you want to make money a different way. Well, I'm going to make money selling myself. No, just go get a regular job. Go get a regular job and spend the rest of your life repenting for what you did. But that's not what these women do. These covert feminists, these women who come in here and they try to use Christianity as a shield. I've seen it before. But at the end of the day, Mia Khalifa coming out, she is somebody that is doing this very thing. She is somebody that engaged in lewd and lascivious acts on camera for money and is now trying to rehabilitate her image. I think that it's a bit of hypocrisy, a bit outrageous. Yeah, some of these women like Nala Ray are scam artists. There are a lot of fake grifters within the TradCon women community. A lot of fake, false, attention-seeking bimbos. That's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, what does this have to do with your original statement? Becoming hyper-religious in adulthood is a sign of low intelligence, not enlightenment. You didn't put that in connection with everything else. You put that statement on its own. And then you seem to try to connect the other part in there to sort of maybe do some damage control. But the fact is, I would take the intelligence of somebody who is hyper-religious in adulthood over the intelligence and the judgment of people that have denounced faith and think that they're somehow more enlightened. Those people tend to be broken, disgusting, poorly informed. I mean, just look at Bill Maher. Bill Maher is a perfect example. What a sad, sad existence. What a sad existence that guy has. But that is the so-called enlightenment of the atheist movement. And it's absurd and it's ridiculous. So ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to do this video because I am proudly a person of faith. A lot of people don't know what Christianity means. They think that it's some Hallmark card. They think that it's some sort of New Age hipster bullshit, but no, it's not. Jesus was not a hippie. Jesus was not a pacifist. Jesus, was happy to make a makeshift whip out of a rope and start turning over tables when he saw that things were wrong. When he saw that they were conducting business in the temple, Jesus had none of it. None of it. He was whipping people, flipping over tables. He was not this pacifist like, oh, well, live and let live, and, whatever happens, happens. And, I just sort of, he just love is love, man. Jesus would love everyone. No. Jesus had very clear guidelines and prescriptions for marriage, for anything. If you actually read what Jesus said, rather than treat him like a Hallmark card to justify your bad behavior in modernity, you would find out very quickly that there are actual things that Jesus said that are not in line with the toned down, watered down, hipster Jesus that they tried to make him out to be. And by the way, just to sort of solidify my point, read Revelation. Read Revelation. Read Revelation. Jesus is coming back, and he's not coming back in a white robe and, hey guys, how you doing? No, he's coming back in a robe stained red with the blood of his enemies. He's coming back with a sword on the back of a horse as a conqueror, as a king. Read Revelation. The Jesus that a lot of people think that they know is not Jesus. That's simply a caricature in their mind that they tell themselves in order to feel better about justifying their own behavior. They use it as a crutch rather than worshiping him for what he is. He is the King of Kings. Christ is King, Lord of Lords. The truly enlightened are the ones that read the Bible and glean the enlightenment from that book. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.